Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Jay O'Neill, Senior Ag Economist with the International Grains Program Institute at Kansas State, is joining us. And Jay, the International Trade Commission recently came out with a report, and it looked at the likely effects of increased trade with Pacific nations. So as we look at that, let's look at some of the positives on what we could see with a potential trade deal in the works.
The positives, and I think you have to define them or examine them rather closely, the positives are there, and that TPP trade agreement is certainly going to be a good thing for ag. Although I think that most of the impact is going to be felt in what we call value-added products, and that means meat and livestock. But that's still a good thing for grain, because the more meat, pork, or beef or chicken that we can potentially export, that takes more feed here domestically, and that's a good thing.
As this continues to work, are we seeing anything as far as what might not be a positive coming out of this report that would affect agriculture?
I don't see any negatives. Opening up trade, eliminating trade barriers, codifying or at least unifying phytosanitary requirements and eliminating tariffs, those are all good things, even if they don't have an immediate impact like on soybean trade or corn trade. I think we're going to find that most of the countries in Southeast Asia already have a pretty much open door for our soybeans, and many of them have an open door for our corn and products as well. And again, the bigger issue, if we can start to ship more pork meat, I think pork will be a big beneficiary of it, as well as beef. It's good for everybody.
That opens up potentially more markets, too.
It opens up a few more markets, and I think the other thing that a lot of people have glossed over, or at least not recognized, is the beauty, so to speak, of the TPP agreements that we're entering into. These type of single or small multi-company agreements is that those agreements, once they're agreed upon among whether it's one or whether it's 5 or 6 or 7 countries, it's easier to hammer out those agreements with a small number of countries. So with these smaller agreements, one of the terms of these agreements is once they are agreed upon among these members, any other members, whether that is China or Taiwan or other people around the world, who say, I want to now at a later date come back and join that agreement, they have to agree upon the terms and conditions that have already been established without modification. And that makes it a lot easier once you try to expand these agreements, even beyond their initial impact and their initial partner countries.
Jay O'Neill, Senior Ag Economist with the International Grains Program Institute at Kansas State, is joining us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. After the break, we'll join Kyle and Randy Gordon, president of the National Feed and Grain Association.